Hey, what's up guys? Welcome back to Life on the Wrist. Hope you guys are doing well today. We're kicking off the 4th year of Life on the Wrist with an absolutely incredible watch for our store. If you don't know, we do curate a couple of watches every year that really speak to me as a watch enthusiast. The reason why I do it is I think it's a way that I can share some watches that I think are very interesting and perhaps find a collector who might want to have this watch join them on their watch collecting journey. These are not high volume. This is not a high volume store. The purpose of the store is really to say, what do I think is most important in watchmaking? What do I think is very interesting in watchmaking? And that's what we list in our store. I'm a vintage person, so of course, kicking off the 4th year, I've got the watch on my wrist right here. We are kicking off with a vintage chronograph from Universal Genève. This is the Uni-Compax, which is one of the watches that I actually fell in love with. There are two watches that I fell in love with when I first got started. It was the blue Submariner and the Uni-Compax chronographs, and then obviously the Memo Sale sort of followed. But in my opinion, the Universal Genève chronograph is such an interesting watch because of the variety of the watches that came out, but also because of the movements that were used in the Uni-Compax as well as the tri-compaxes of that era, because they're column wheel chronographs that are really desired by many collectors and emanate a lot of the other movements that some of the more famous chronograph watches have in them. So what I'm going to do is flip perspective so you can get a close-up of this watch. I'll talk through it a little bit, talk through the history of it a little bit as well. It's a really beautiful example in rose gold. Definitely one of my all-time favorite watches, and it's so cool to have it on my wrist. This is the jumbo version produced in the 1950s in rose gold, 38 millimeters in diameter. Fits so nicely. So super excited to share this with you. And without further ado, let's flip perspectives so you can take a look at this watch. Okay, super excited to share this watch with you, as this really does sort of tell a great history of watches, and in my opinion, some of the best value in vintage chronographs you can possibly get is right in this watch here. So what you're looking at is a vintage Universal Genève chronograph from the 1950s. Universal Genève produced many chronographs throughout its history, and obviously some of the stylistic elements of this really hit home with sort of the classical watchmaking, very vintage looking chronograph. This is obviously from the 1950s, so it is a vintage chronograph, but you can see this, very simplistic dial with simple numerals, blued hands, beautiful applied hour markers in a precious metal. So to give you a little bit of background on Universal Genève and the chronographs that they produced, Universal Genève produced chronographs through its entire history, starting most notably with a specific line of chronographs like the Big Eyes, and this sort of followed up on a lot of the similar watches that it was competing against, like Zenith and a lot of the classic watchmakers like Patek Philippe and Vacheron Constantin. In the 1940s and 50s, what they ended up doing was shifting to a new line of watches called the Uni-Compax, which is what you're looking at here. The Uni-Compax is a 2-register chronograph that has most of the time a precious metal case, but there are some that are in stainless steel. Precious metal case with a 2-pusher chronograph running on a column wheel chronograph movement. The Uni-Compax isn't just what Universal Genève ended up producing. They actually produced something called the tri-compax, which had a 3-register chronograph and had a moon face to it. However, the one that we have here is a Uni-Compax. These were produced in many different styles and variations, which I think makes this watch a really attractive watch for collectors. There were many different references, many different shapes, or excuse me, sizes, materials, which I think made it accessible to many people, because you could basically say, okay, what watch just speaks to me? What do I think I would like? And that's what you can get your hands on. In the 1940s and 50s, they ended up producing the jumbo version of this watch. This was a slightly larger case size that you're seeing right here, 38 millimeters in diameter. That has become some of the most desirable versions of the Uni-Compax, because it does have a modern size instead of being 33 millimeters. That may not fit everyone's wrist. So the 38 millimeter version of this watch has become very desirable. The most desirable one, though, is the 38mm waterproof case version, where you actually have the chronograph hands you have an oyster case, and the chronograph hands are waterproof. This obviously is not that. So that's a little bit of history about the Uni-Compax and Universal Genève and sort of the chronographs that they produced. To speak a little bit more about this watch that you see in my hand right here, this is a Uni-Compax chronograph jumbo in rose gold. So you can see really beautiful hue to this case. The case is 18 karat rose gold. It's running on the caliber 285 movement, which is what all Uni-Compaxes ran on. This is a column wheel chronograph movement that became extremely desirable because it did emulate many of the other design elements that you found in watches from Patek Philippe and Vacheron Constantin and Hugues Lecoultre in chronographs of the time. Column wheel chronographs, I should really do a whole video about column wheel chronographs because they are super interesting and very desired. So like I said, 18 karat rose gold, 1950s it was produced. What's really amazing about this watch is if you look at the dial, you can see that it's fairly untouched. It's got its original dial, and you can see a lot of the patina that's sort of aged on this dial as well as on the applied hour markers. The hands look still very great, and if you look at the chronograph hands, they are blued to sort of match this really beautiful leather strap this watch actually comes on. What I really love about this watch is actually the pushers. The pushers for the chronograph are squared, and I think it just makes it look very classic and like a lot of the Patek Philippe chronographs that you'd end up finding. So that's the watch in a nutshell. It really does fit absolutely incredibly. So if I put it on my wrist, you'll be able to see here, it just fits my wrist absolutely perfect at 38mm, and that's something that I think is underrated when it comes to chronographs, is finding one that fits your wrist. It doesn't hang over at all. It just fits absolutely phenomenally at any angle that you look at it. What I really like about this watch as well is the condition. If you look at the lugs, they're super sharp. The case itself does not look like there's any excessive polishing done to it. So you can see here, still in really great condition. The crown is unsigned, which is in line with the chronographs of this era. You can see some basic scuff marks on here, but nothing that has a huge impact on the watch itself. So that is the chronograph. What I want to do actually is see if anyone out there has a tri-compax. I am looking for one, so if you do have a tri-compax, send me a message, because I might be interested in purchasing it for my own personal collection. One of the things that I always think about when I see this watch is watches like Patek Philippe chronographs. There was a split-second chronograph that just sold at Philips over the weekend. It's one of my all-time favorite watches, actually. It's a split-second chronograph. I'm just gonna try and find the reference really quickly. There's a 1463 that sold, and it's the reason why I bring this up is a lot of the aesthetics of this watch remind me of that type of watch. And I think that's something that's really cool about Universal Genève, because they're relatively affordable compared to those watches, and you can pick up something that has very similar design elements with a great history that Universal Genève has with the Uni-Compax in it, and yeah, just a really great place to look for if you are looking to get into vintage chronographs of this era. So I hope you guys enjoyed looking at this watch. I'll flip perspectives so we can close out the video. Hope you guys enjoyed looking at this Universal Genève Uni-Compax from the 1950s. Like I said, this was sort of like a really great alternative to some of the other vintage Patek Philippe's or Vacheron Constantins that you're looking at a much more affordable price, especially in the vintage watch market today. I think more people have kind of got behind this watch and are looking to add this type of watch to their collection. This watch is available on our store. If you would like to go look at that, there'll be a link in the show notes to this watch. It's so cool to have this on my wrist, and I think the blue strap with the chronograph hand just looks so nice. I've really been smiling most of the time when I look at this watch. So I hope you guys enjoyed taking a look at this watch. Let me know what you think about it in the comment section below. I'd love to hear your thoughts. If you are new to Life on the Wrist, be sure to hit the subscribe button if you like these types of videos, and if you wouldn't mind hitting that like button for us, it really does help us out with our YouTube analytics. And with that said, guys, thank you so much for watching this video, and until next time.